The night was thick with humidity pressing against my skin like a velvet glove. The dim lighting in the house cast long shadows along the walls, making everything feel just a little more forbidden. I had been restless all evening, pacing in my room, trying to distract myself from the thoughts clawing at the back of my mind. But nothing worked. Not the cold shower I took. Not the pointless browsing through my phone. Not even the whiskey I had poured myself earlier. She was here, just a few doors down. I knew I should stay away. I had every reason to. She was off limits in the most dangerous way possible. But that didn't stop the ache in my body, the way my pulse pounded when she was near. The looks she gave me weren't subtle. The way her lips curved in that knowing smile. The way her fingers would brush against my arm as if by accident. I should have left the house the moment my father did, but I didn't. And now, it was too late to turn back. A soft knock on my door snapped me out of my haze. My breath hitched, my fingers tightening around the edge of my desk. I didn't move immediately, as if delaying this moment would somehow make it less real. Another knock, softer this time. Ethan. Her voice was a whisper, silky and low. A warning and an invitation all at once. I clenched my jaw, knowing full well what I was about to do was the worst decision I could ever make. But I still crossed the room, my fingers wrapping around the doorknob. When I pulled it open, she was standing there in nothing but a thin silk robe, barely tied at the waist. My eyes dragged over her body, the swell of her breasts visible beneath the fabric. The smooth line of her legs leading up to that dangerous little slit in the robe. Is something wrong? I asked, voice rougher than I intended. She tilted her head, stepping closer. Just enough that the scent of her perfume wrapped around me like a noose. I couldn't sleep. I should have sent her away. I should have slammed the door and locked it. But instead, I let my eyes drop to her lips, slightly parted, as if she was waiting for me to make the first move. The air between us was thick, crackling with something dark and unspoken. When she reached up, her fingers grazing my collarbone, my restraint snapped like a frayed wire. I pulled her into the room in one swift motion, the door clicking shut behind her. Her gasp barely had time to escape before my lips crushed against hers. She responded instantly, pressing her body against mine, her hands sliding into my hair, nails scratching against my scalp. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. We both knew exactly where this was heading. Her robe slipped off her shoulders, pooling at her feet as I pushed her back toward the bed. My hands roamed freely, tracing the curves I'd spent weeks trying to ignore. She was warm, soft, perfect. The way she moved, the way she moaned against my lips, it was too much, too good. This wasn't just lust. It was something deeper, something twisted and undeniable. Do you have any idea what you do to me? I muttered against her neck, biting down just enough to make her shudder. She arched into me, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Show me. I did. The world outside that room ceased to exist. There was no right or wrong, no consequences, no fear. Only heat, only pleasure, only the intoxicating rhythm of two bodies moving in sync, drowning in a desire that had been waiting to explode. Her nails left red trails down my back, her thighs clenched around me, pulling me deeper, demanding more. And I gave her everything. By the time we finally collapsed onto the bed, tangled in sweat-slick sheets, I knew we had crossed a line that could never be erased. My heart still pounded against my ribs as I traced lazy circles along the curve of her hip, watching the rise and fall of her chest. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something more than just lust, something dangerous. I told myself I wouldn't do this. I admitted, my voice husky. She smiled, slow and wicked. Liar. And I was. Because if she knocked on my door again tomorrow, I knew I'd let her in all over again. Morning came too soon. The golden light seeped through the curtains, casting long streaks of warmth across the tangled sheets. My body felt heavy, the lingering remnants of last night's sin weighing on me. She was still here. She lay on her side, facing me. Her dark hair splayed across the pillow. The thin sheet barely covered her body, and I could see the faint marks my lips had left on her skin. A reminder of the line we had crossed. The line I knew I should have never approached in the first place. But looking at her now, I wasn't sure if I regretted it. Her eyes fluttered open, hazy and still laced with sleep. When she saw me watching her, a slow, knowing smile curled at the corners of her lips. "Morning," she murmured, stretching slightly, making the sheet slip just a little lower. I swallowed, dragging a hand down my face, forcing myself to look away. "You should go before." "Before what?" She interrupted, propping herself up on one elbow. "Before someone finds out? Before you start feeling guilty." Her tone was teasing, but there was something sharp beneath it. I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to sit up, planting my feet on the floor. "This was a mistake." She laughed softly. "You didn't think so last night." I clenched my jaw, rubbing my temples. "That was different. He's coming back today, Celine. We can't. We can't." She moved closer, her fingers tracing lazy circles along my bare shoulder. "Ethan, be honest. Do you really want me to leave?" I closed my eyes for a second, breathing deeply, trying to steady myself. Everything about her was intoxicating, pulling me in like quicksand. If I wasn't careful, she would destroy me. But maybe, just maybe, I wanted to be destroyed. I turned my head, catching her wrist before she could go any further. "This isn't a game." She smirked. "Isn't it?" Her lips brushed against my neck, her breath warm and teasing. My grip on her wrist tightened, but I didn't push her away. I hated how easily she unraveled me. "You should go," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. She pressed one last kiss to my jaw before slipping out of bed, the sheet falling away from her body as she walked toward the bathroom. She didn't bother covering herself, didn't care that I was watching. She wanted me to watch, and damn it, I did. I ran a hand through my hair, letting out a frustrated sigh. This was already spiraling out of control, and I had no one to blame but myself. By the time she emerged from the bathroom, she was dressed in the same silky robe she had worn last night, loosely tied around her waist. She walked toward the door, pausing just before stepping out. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes gleaming with something I couldn't quite decipher. "See you later, Ethan." Then she was gone, leaving only the scent of her perfume behind. The day passed in a blur. I forced myself to act normal, to pretend nothing had happened. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her. Every time I heard footsteps in the hallway, my heart pounded, half expecting it to be her. By the time evening came, I was exhausted from the guilt, from the desire, from the sheer weight of what we had done. And then he came home. Dinner was quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that wasn't empty but thick with unspoken words, with stolen glances, with the weight of something dangerous hanging in the air. Gabriel sat at the head of the table, composed as always, cutting into his steak with precision. Celine sat across from me, her expression serene, as if nothing had happened. But I could feel her, every movement, every shift of her body. The brush of her foot against my leg beneath the table was deliberate, a quiet taunt. I nearly dropped my fork. Gabriel didn't notice. Or if he did, he didn't react. He was too busy discussing business, speaking about investments, acquisitions, the empire he had built. He rarely asked about my life anymore, rarely looked at me like a son. I wondered if he ever had. "Ethan," his voice pulled me from my thoughts. "You're awfully quiet tonight." I forced a smile. "Just tired." He nodded, sipping his wine. "I assume everything was in order while I was gone." Celine's lips curved slightly. "Oh, everything was just fine." I swallowed hard. She was enjoying this. The thrill of it, the danger, the power she had over me. I hated her for it. I wanted her for it. After dinner, Gabriel retreated to his study, leaving me alone with her. The moment he was gone, she stood, taking her time collecting the wine glasses, moving gracefully around the table. I should have left. I should have walked away. But I didn't. She came to stand beside me, her fingers grazing my shoulder as she leaned down, whispering close to my ear. "You were quiet all evening. Afraid someone might suspect something?" I turned sharply, my jaw tight. "What the hell are you doing?" She tilted her head, studying me with amusement. "What does it look like?" "This isn't a game, Celine." She smiled, slow and knowing. Oh, but it is. And you're already playing. I exhaled sharply, pushing back from the table. This ends now. She laughed softly. You keep saying that. And yet, she took a step closer, her body nearly brushing mine. Do you really want it to end? I clenched my fists. Gabriel. Gabriel doesn't know, she said easily. And he won't, unless you give us away. I hated how calm she was. How confident, like she had already won. Maybe she had. Go to bed, Celine. She raised an eyebrow. Whose? I didn't answer. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding against my ribs. But as I reached the stairs, her voice stopped me. Sweet dreams, Ethan. I didn't sleep. The next few days were torture. Every time I saw her, I felt it. The pull, the heat, the temptation. She made sure I did. A lingering touch as she walked past me. The way she licked her lips at breakfast. Holding my gaze, as if daring me to remember the way her mouth had felt on mine. The way she stood just a little too close when Gabriel was in the room, her scent wrapping around me, suffocating me. I was losing control, and she knew it. One evening, Gabriel was in a late meeting, and I found myself in the library, trying to distract myself with a book I wasn't really reading. The house was quiet, too quiet. I should have known she would find me. The soft click of heels on the wooden floor made my shoulders tense. I didn't look up. Ethan. Her voice was smooth, warm, like honey laced with poison. I turned the page, pretending I didn't hear her. She moved closer, stopping beside my chair. Ignoring me won't make this go away. I shut the book with a sharp sound. What do you want? She smiled, trailing a finger along the edge of the bookshelf. I think you know. I stood, putting distance between us. You need to stop this. She tilted her head. Doi. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair. Celine, whatever this is, it's going to destroy everything. She stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. Maybe it should. You stir the hair. My pulse hammering. Why are you doing this? She didn't answer. Instead, she closed the space between us, her fingers ghosting over my chest. Tell me to leave, she murmured. Tell me you don't want this. I should have pushed her away. But instead, I grabbed her wrist, pulling her closer, my breath uneven. You're playing a dangerous game. She smiled. So are you. And then she kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was fire, consuming, demanding. My hands found her waist, fingers digging in as she pressed against me. I hated how much I wanted her. Hated that I couldn't stop. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made us break apart. Gabriel. Celine smoothed her dress, her expression unreadable. Go back to your book, she whispered before slipping out of the room. I barely had time to compose myself before the door opened and Gabriel walked in. He glanced around, his sharp eyes lingering on me for a moment before he spoke. I need to discuss something with you. I swallowed hard, nodding. Of course. As he spoke, I tried to focus on his words, but all I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat. All I could think about was the taste of her lips. I was already too far gone. Gabriel Hale walked through the front doors like he owned the world. Tall, commanding, always dressed in an immaculate suit, his presence filled the house instantly. He wasn't a man you ignored. He wasn't a man you betrayed. And yet I had. So, his deep voice pulled me from my thoughts. I turned to face him, keeping my expression neutral. Gabriel. A flicker of something unreadable crossed his face, but he didn't correct me. I'd stopped calling him Dad years ago. He never seemed to mind. How was your trip? I asked. Productive. He said simply, handing his coat to the housekeeper. I trust everything was fine while I was away. I nodded, my throat dry. Yeah, everything was fine. A lie. A terrible, unforgivable lie. His sharp gaze lingered on me for a moment before shifting toward the staircase. Where's Celine? Before I could answer, she appeared at the top of the stairs, looking as effortlessly elegant as ever. She was dressed in a fitted black dress, her hair pulled back in a sleek style. If she felt any guilt for what we had done, she didn't show it. Gabriel, she greeted with a soft smile as she descended the stairs. Welcome home. He stepped forward, reaching for her hand, bringing it to his lips in a chaste kiss. You look beautiful, my love. I clenched my fists, my stomach twisting painfully. She met my gaze over his shoulder just for a second, and in that second, I saw it, the amusement, the triumph, the silent challenge. She was playing with fire, and I was already burning. The days passed in a blur of tension, desire, and guilt. Every moment spent in this house felt like walking a tightrope over an abyss, knowing that one wrong step could bring everything crashing down. And yet, I couldn't stop myself from looking at her, from wanting her. Celine thrived on it, pushing boundaries every chance she got. A whisper in my ear when Gabriel was near. A lingering touch when she walked past me in the hallway. A knowing smirk at the breakfast table when our eyes met across the room. She was relentless, and I was losing the battle. That night, Gabriel had an event to attend, something business-related. He asked if I wanted to come, but I made up an excuse. He didn't press the matter. I told myself I would stay in my room, lock the door if necessary, keep my distance. But when I heard the sound of her heels echoing down the hallway, I knew it was already too late. I found her in the dimly lit living room, a glass of wine in her hand, her silk robe draped over her frame, barely concealing the lace beneath. She looked up as I entered, her lips curving into that infuriatingly knowing smile. Couldn't stay away, could you? I clenched my jaw. Celine, we need to stop this. She swirled the wine in her glass lazily. You've been saying that since the first night. And I meant it. She arched an eyebrow. Did you? I exhaled sharply, running a hand through my hair. This isn't a game. She placed her glass down on the table and rose gracefully to her feet, taking slow, deliberate steps toward me. Oh, Ethan, she murmured, reaching out to trace a finger along the collar of my shirt. It's always been a game. You just don't know the rules yet. I caught her wrist, my grip firm. Then tell me what the hell you're doing. She tilted her head, amusement flickering in her eyes. What do you think I'm doing? Try to ruin me, I said, my voice rough. She smiled. Oh no, Ethan. I'm trying to remind you. Remind me of what? Her free hand slid down my chest, nails lightly grazing the fabric. Of who I am. Of who we were. I froze. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. No, even that's not possible. She stepped closer, so close I could feel her breath against my skin. Isn't it? I shook my head. You left. You disappeared. I betrayed you. She finished for me, her voice softer now. And you hate me for it. But you never forgot me. The memories came rushing back like a flood. The nights we spent tangled together. The promises whispered in the dark. The way I once believed she was mine. And then the betrayal. The way she walked away, leaving nothing but silence in her wake. I spent years hating her, convincing myself she no longer existed in my world. And now, here she was, standing in front of me, wearing another man's ring, playing me like a pawn in a game I didn't understand. My grip on her wrist tightened. Why? Her lips parted, but no words came. I shook my head. Was this your plan all along? Marry him just to get close to me? To do what? Ruin my life? She searched my face, her expression unreadable. No, Ethan, I didn't come back to ruin you. Then why? She lifted a hand to my cheek, her touch unexpectedly gentle. Because I never stopped wanting you. The words were a confession, a weapon, a wound reopened. I should have pulled away. I should have told her to leave. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed her. It wasn't soft. It wasn't hesitant. It was years of anger, desire, and something deeper than either of us wanted to admit. She met me with the same hunger, her fingers tangling in my hair as she pressed against me. We stumbled back, crashing into the couch. Her robe slipped from her shoulders, revealing bare skin, lace, temptation incarnate. My hands roamed her body, memorizing every inch of her like I had once done before. She gasped against my lips, nails digging into my back as I lifted her onto my lap. I hate you, I muttered between kisses. She laughed breathlessly. Liar. Her hips rolled against mine, and I groaned, fingers digging into her thighs. This is wrong. She pulled back slightly, looking into my eyes. Then stop. I couldn't. I kissed her again, and this time there was no hesitation. No more pretending. My hands slid beneath the lace, tearing away the last barrier between us. Her body arched into me, her lips parting in a breathless sigh as I claimed her like I had 1,000 times before in my dreams, in my memories. Only this time it was real. We lost ourselves in each other, in the heat, in the need that neither of us could control. Every touch, every moan, every whispered name was a reminder of the past we thought we had buried. But there was no burying this. There never had been. Afterward, as she lay against my chest, fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin, the weight of reality settled over me like a crushing force. I exhaled heavily. What happens now? She didn't answer right away. When she finally did, her voice was quiet. That depends on you. I stared at the ceiling, my mind spinning. He's going to find out. She lifted her head slightly, resting her chin on my chest. I know. I looked at her, searching her face for something, regret, fear, anything. But there was only calm acceptance. My stomach twisted. Celine, what aren't you telling me? She hesitated, just for a moment. And then, softly, she said, Gabriel already knows. The air in the room thickened, suffocating. Her words echoed in my mind, loud and relentless. Gabriel already knows. I sat up abruptly, pushing her off me. What the hell are you talking about? Celine didn't flinch. She merely adjusted the silk robe back over her shoulders and watched me with that same unreadable expression. I mean exactly what I said. My chest tightened. You're lying? A slow, almost pitying smile spread across her lips. You still don't get it, do you? I ran a hand through my hair, my mind racing. If Gabriel knew, if he had known all along, then why hadn't he done anything? Why hadn't he stopped this before it even began? None of it made sense. Why are you here, Celine? My voice was hoarse. Raw. What do you really want? She sighed, running a fingertip along the edge of her wine glass on the table. Do you remember the last time we saw each other before now? The memory clawed its way back, unbidden. The night she left. The betrayal. The unbearable silence that followed. You walked away. I said, my voice flat. Without a word. Her jaw tightened slightly. And do you know why? I scoffed. Because you were a coward? Her eyes darkened, and for the first time that night, I saw something real in them. A flicker of something close to pain. I walked away, she said slowly, because Gabriel made me. My breath hitched. What? She leaned forward slightly, her voice lower now, almost a whisper. I didn't leave you because I wanted to, Ethan. I left because I had no choice. I shook my head, unable to process what she was saying. That's bullshit. She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. Is it? She tilted her head. You think it was just some random coincidence that I ended up marrying him of all people? A sinking feeling settled deep in my gut. He knew about us. Even back then, she continued. Knew everything. And he used it against me. I swallowed hard. What did he do? She hesitated, her fingers tightening around the glass. Let's just say he made sure I had no other option. My fist clenched. And now? Is this your revenge? Sleeping with me behind his back. A slow, sad smile played on her lips. Oh, Ethan, you still don't understand. I exhaled sharply. Then explain it to me. She held my gaze for a long moment before finally saying, Gabriel wanted this to happen. The room spun. What? She stood, walking toward the window, looking out at the dark night beyond. You think he didn't know? You think he didn't plan for this? She turned back to me, her eyes gleaming. He's been waiting, Ethan. Watching, letting this play out exactly the way he wanted. My entire body went cold. This doesn't make any sense, I muttered, shaking my head. She took a slow step toward me. Doesn't it? A sudden, chilling thought took root in my mind. Then tell me, what happens next? Celine's lips parted, but before she could speak, a voice echoed through the room. Well, I suppose that depends on you. I froze. Celine froze. And then, slowly, we both turned toward the doorway. Gabriel stood there, calm and composed as ever, dressed impeccably in his tailored suit, a glass of whiskey in hand. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him with an almost lazy ease. How long had you been standing there? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. His lips curved into a small, knowing smirk. Long enough. Celine's breath hitched beside me, but she didn't move. Gabriel took another step closer, his gaze flicking between us with an air of quiet amusement. I must say, Ethan, I'm disappointed. I expected better from you. My jaw tightened. You set this up. He tilted his head slightly. Did I? I exhaled sharply. You knew. You let this happen. You. I orchestrated it. His voice was smooth, unbothered. And you fell for it beautifully. Celine finally spoke, her voice laced with quiet anger. Why? Gabriel chuckled, swirling the whiskey in his glass. Oh, my love. You already know the answer. A sick feeling coiled in my stomach. You wanted to punish her. Gabriel's gaze met mine, and for the first time, I saw the truth in his eyes. I wanted to punish both of you. The weight of his words settled over us like a suffocating blanket. He took a slow sip of his drink before continuing. Did you really think I let you get away with what you did all those years ago, Celine? His voice was almost affectionate, but there was steel beneath it. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? Celine's hands clenched into fists. So what now? Gabriel sighed, as if he were discussing something as mundane as a business deal. Well, that's the question, isn't it? His gaze flickered to me. What should I do with you, Ethan? I forced myself to meet his stare. This isn't a game. He smirked. Oh, but it is. And you, my dear boy, have already lost. The tension in the room thickened until it was unbearable. Then, without another word, Gabriel set down his glass, turned on his heel, and walked away, leaving us in the suffocating silence of what we had done. I looked at Celine. She looked at me. And for the first time since this began, I realized neither of us had ever been in control.